This is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Claudia Rosenhouse Raiken, author of Messages from the Womb, um, master DreamBirth Imagery Practitioner. And I wanted to welcome you to the Phantom Electric Ghost podcast. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. I am doing well. Not used to doing live, so this is sort of fun.
Well, we've been doing this since 2016, as I indicated. This will be episode 1152. And we do have your YouTube link there. Let everybody know that will be fully clickable, so I won't have to mention it, the exact
Okay.
link, but that will be clickable in the podcast description. We are live on the air on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at the moment
Okay.
simultaneously. And then by
Okay.
tomorrow, we'll be on all the major podcast platforms where you can listen or view, like on Spotify, Amazon, Apple,
Okay.
all those. But yeah, it's great to talk to authors. We talked to a couple authors this week already, and you've got a really interesting topic. But before I get into your topic, I like to ask people, like, what motivates you and why do you do what you do?
Ah, good question. I love what I do so much that it doesn't feel like work.
Mhm.
I'm really, sometimes people will not pay me till late, and I go, "Oh, I didn't realize they didn't pay me." So, let's see. A, a longish story. I adopted 2 girls from China when I was 48 and 50, and, if we want later, I can go into the exact details of how I became a birth doula.
Mhm.
Um, and about a year or even 6 months after becoming a doula, I had a hunch that imagery, visualizations would really help the pregnant woman, and I found Catherine Shainberg, who's the expert in the type of imagery, very short, fun, creative little visualizations. Okay. I do not know exactly how I mean, I know exactly what I did and what happened, but the truth is that my expertise seems to be in getting the babies, the souls, even before they're conceived, to talk to the parents. Now, eh, um, lo and behold, many years after I'd already been doing it, I was working with a, a medium, a psychic, I don't know what she is, and I was getting, every time I'm about to do a much bigger step, um, I get little visions of other lifetimes when I got in trouble for speaking truth.
Oh,
I would see images of being beheaded, of being burnt, and I said, "You know what? I'm gonna have a session with this woman." And but I said to her, "Please give me lifetimes where I was successful."
oh, you don't
Not
want to open the ones
no
where you
yeah,
had the
yeah,
problems.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the very interesting thing is, she said, "I see 3 lifetimes that are very similar, so I'm gonna compress them." And apparently in Babylonian times, and I don't know when that was, I would be in the temple steps and lots of pregnant women would be around me.
Mm.
And, I would have them talk to their babies and get advice about what they should eat, what they should be doing. So I realized I've done this several other
Several
lifetimes,
lifetimes. Yeah.
okay? And,
Hmm.
I it all joined together after I became a doula, but during my adoption, that was actually my first, introduction to we all have a consciousness before we come in. Um, Patricia, who passed, became a wonderful friend. Um, how did the question come? Um, I was working with her during the adoption, and she said to me one day, "Oh," people will laugh. I totally did. was so blown away and didn't believe her. She said, "You're visiting your children in the womb, so they know your energy." I said, What am I doing? I'm
Mm,
visiting my children in the womb?" And she said, "Yeah, at nighttime." She just absolutely didn't even explain. To her, it was so, obvious, right? And
mhm.
and then she said, "It's all been decided, you know. Your children, your husband, their birth parents, it's all been decided. Everyone is in agreement that they're going to be adopted." Now, I hadn't adopted them yet. I was just in the process.
Oh,
But,
you're just looking into it. Hmm.
so I started to get that there's a bigger picture, right? And, when I became a doula and, um, was convinced that imagery would help women have less pain, open up, blah, 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 I found Catherine. Um, and but as we worked, by the way, for 7 years, a bunch of doulas and psychologists to learn this, to create it. And so it's for everything that could happen, but it's also for relationships, because you're going to have a baby, your relationships need to work. So it's imagery for everything to get rid of fears. But I seem to gravitate to having the mothers talk to the babies. And I've become very, very good at it because I'm convinced they can do it. I'm convinced the babies wanna talk. So I think that in essence, I create a very large belief. They may not believe it, but I know those babies wanna talk. And
Mhm.
so, the more I've done this, now it's been many years, um, I'm realizing the babies are hanging around quite a bit before they come in. Um, so how was I motivated? I don't know how to tell you. It's just a passion.
It's
It's
something that you were drawn to. Like, as a Buddhist, we believe that we
okay.
have paths and that we're already kinda, the paths, and we do actually have a belief, in Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism, there are souls, like, the babies choose their parents before they
I
even
yeah,
come in.
well,
That's a really old belief, you
well,
know?
it is. It's just truth. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
yeah.
we just don't.
Yeah, Western mindset might not believe that. Eastern
Yeah,
mindsets have had
right.
this, and indigenous folks have had this. Native American. There's people that believe there are souls that like pick when they're going to come,
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
who they're
And
going to come into, who will be with.
and what you pick is for different reasons. You may pick a lot of difficulties so that you learn how to overcome them and then can help others, right?
Yeah,
It all
your path.
y
Your path might
yeah,
not be. You and that might you like Buddhists. We believe you go through multiple lives, and during those lives, you may have a progression, or you might have a degradation, right?
eh
Depending on
right.
what your karma is. So you
I
can be on the
I hope
ascendant.
progression, yeah,
You can go on the ascendant progression where you're
yeah,
each life you're coming back in a better state, in a better place,
yeah,
rather than going the
s
other way, which is possible to go the other way.
right,
But we don't want to talk about that. But
and
yeah.
so, um, what ended up leading to writing my book, because I don't think of myself as being a writer, although now it changes because I did write
Mhm.
a book and my publisher wants me to write another book. I go, "No, not yet. I'm not ready." But that I really felt that the whole world should be privy to what the babies were saying. It just felt like I have to get this out. You know, my father
Mhm.
was a reporter, a journalist, and I feel a bit like I'm a reporter. I'm reporting, I'm not exactly reporting, but yes,
You're telling a story. You're
I'm
telling,
telling a
that
story.
baby.
All these babies wanna know
You
what that they're
Mhm.
there and thinking and alive and yeah.
There's the whole idea of the DreamBirth program. It's like, is it something where you run this program, and maybe we've been alluding to it,
Yeah,
but
okay.
it's part of your overall like imagery,
It
part of the
is
school of
because
images, right?
I primarily love okay, I use imagery with pregnant couples, with people who want to get pregnant, but I train other professionals in it. Okay, so I'll just point it. This book
DreamBirth.
is it this is Catherine's book, Catherine Shainberg, the woman can't figure out how to do it. Okay.
No, I see it.
The woman that taught me the imagery. This
Mm,
is very old imagery. Its roots are Kabbalistic, they're from Judaism, but many other cultures
everything. Yeah, have the same
have
idea. Like I said,
imagery. Right,
yeah,
right.
Buddhism has the same thing,
Right,
but
exactly. It's not, and my book is okay,
messages from the womb.
Messages from the Womb. And but I am primarily I teach DreamBirth. I teach DreamBirth to many types of practitioners, uh, doulas and birth educators, but psychologists, counselors, all over the place, acupuncturists, because um, the exercises, the little visualizations end up, uh, I don't, I, causing is a word that's coming, but it's not promoting a rebirth because
Mhm.
you're talking to the baby in the womb, but you can sometimes see yourself in the womb. So it ends up being
Like a valuable tool for
a
somebody that's a counselor.
every, yeah, and I think it's part of the divine feminine that is
Oh, yeah,
coming
I've
into
heard
the
that.
earth, right? It opens up compassion because that's what being a mother is, right?
It's all about creation. It's about the ability to have that creation power, which is
Yeah,
like the divine feminine spirit. Like why a lot of I talk to a lot of artists, and happen to be women or men that can access the divine feminine. They can
interesting.
access that
Yeah,
feminine
yeah,
side, and you'll find that a lot of men that have the creative side tend to go toward like a feminine part of themselves,
a-
right? To do the
absolutely.
creativity. And so it
Because
all ends up being like, the divine feminine, the creativity of it.
interesting. Yeah. And also, for me, the thought is, and why I'm so motivated, these new babies, and if that are coming in with a parent that knows they're fully alive and are they are being chosen by this being, there's
Mhm.
more love and understanding in the world. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, well, yeah, if you have that
yeah,
yeah, if you know that baby chose you, right,
yeah,
that they came from the other side and they chose to be in your family, to be in,
yeah,
with
and
you. It's a
and
different type of connection that just like it's a spiritual connection that's beyond
exactly.
the obvious physical
E
world or the common
e
knowledge or what's known.
e
It goes into a spiritual. It goes into something
exactly.
that's a different zone, which I think people need.
A
They need to have that.
absolutely, and also the language of imagery is also just mind to mind, heart to heart. You know, you can do this with animals. I knew and I didn't know, I read about, an animal trainer. Actually, he trained dolphins, and what he would do is he would see the dolphin in his imagination do exactly what he wanted the dolphin would do, and the dolphin understood and did the same thing. So, um, eh, what I also, um, promote is with the mothers who now have live babies who are crying and they're feeling like, "Ah, I don't know what to do." I go, "Talk to them, ask
Mhm.
them." Because it's really mind to mind, heart to heart, right? And we teach that in this form of imagery, how to do that with your partner, with your doctor, with your boss. My daughters, who are now, oh my goodness, I always forget. I think they're 25 and 27, or you're 26 and 28. Um, Once my youngest was having trouble with her boss. She's a writer um, for magazines, but for online magazines. And She had a new editor that was being very rough on her. That was just the way she worked, and my daughter said to me, I'm starting to feel like I do nothing right, mommy. I wish
Mm,
she would say it like my old editor would, you know, telling me what perhaps I do right." And so, of course, because I'm her mother, no imagery, that's stupid. That's something mother does. So I just said, just talk to her mind to mind. Just tell her what you're thinking and feeling. And she went to work the next day, and the editor says to her, "You know what? I've been thinking, I think I'm being unfair with you. I I don't tell you what you're doing that you do really well. You do blah, 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 blah." So it was like people
yeah.
hear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that free well, there's like, as a musician, there's a lot of things that we do like nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm with, like, my jazz band, there's stuff that we do that's like frequency, like, we just know, and we don't have to say anything, right? We know we're, like, in the right frequency, and we know when we're not. We know when we're,
Yeah.
like, in discordance, I
Yeah.
know it's like, it's not we're not vibing. Drummer
Yeah.
had a bad night. He's not, the sax player's not on, and it's we know when we're on. It's like, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
these things that you can do, and you don't have to even say it. It's like they just feel
Exactly.
it, and I think you can project, you know, these things by, like we have a lot of affirmations, in our practice
Right.
where we project like positivity, or we project what we want, or what the thing, like you're
Exactly.
saying with your boss is like you
Right.
project like, I want my boss to read me. I want him to
Right.
understand me. I want
Yeah.
him to respect. You put that out in the world and you project,
Absolutely. And
and it can happen.
and in this imagery, we use light. For example, you might surround your baby from. Uh, you fill yourself with light. There's many exercises where you breathe in the light, or you just see the light, and you learn how to fill yourself with light, and then give it to someone, throw it to someone, pour light on them. One of the most effective exercises when you go to the birth, but it can be done for any operation procedure. You not only fill the room with light, you fill every doctor and every nurse with light.
Mm,
Everything they touch turns to light. Everything they do is guided by the light. And whatever is done much better. The body reacts much better. Everything is in light, right? So, anyway, you learn all sorts of tools that are very old, very, very, very old, really.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of old ancient knowledge that we forgot because of
Yeah.
science or rules
Yeah.
and customs, and, things that
Mhm.
overrode the old. Because,
Right.
like, "Oh, that's too, that's, like, too spiritual, that's too foo-foo, that's, like, witchcraft,
Yeah.
that's this." And a lot of it
Exactly.
was, like, there's a lot of ancient practice that was valuable. There's a
It
lot of people, like, there's all these things is, like, that were in the forest, that were in the jungle that we knew were gonna
Yeah.
work, right?
Yeah,
We know
exactly.
there's,
Yeah.
like, healing from singing, that's been used since we've been on the planet. We knew that it has power, that the voice has power, that
Absolutely.
what you actually say with
Absolutely.
your voice
Yes.
has power, and it can heal. Like, that's why music, like, heals,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it can
Yeah, yeah,
heal,
yeah.
or it can have all kinds of effects depending on what the tone is and what the frequency is. You can do things that are positive, you can do things that are negative.
Of
And so
course.
the power that people is like, "Oh, well, I can't see it." Like, just because you can't see it, like, you can hear it, you can feel it. There's
You
other
can feel
senses.
it, you can
You can
feel it,
smell
right,
it.
yeah,
There's everything
yeah,
there. It's like synesthesia. It's like you
and
can start to feel, like, all the aspects of all your sensory
yeah,
capability, and you might not be able to understand it, but I guess with a practitioner like yourself, like, you start to try to get people to understand what this is.
you do, and mainly you get them to experience it, when they talk to their baby or ask their what the okay, the way I really start the conversation, there's an exercise in imagery visualization where you create a garden. And if the woman is pregnant or trying to get pregnant, I say, this is where you go for peace, to feel safe. And they they go in, what does it look like? And if they don't like it, bring in the rains, have more flowers, weed your garden, you can change it.
Mhm.
And in the so they've created a garden. They've gone in to talk to their baby. And I said, "Is there anything the baby wants to say?" They'll usually say no. And then I go, "Let's go to the garden." And you take a few moments for them to breathe in the oxygen, the beautiful flowers if they have it, to start to feel rested. And when they are, I say, "Okay, go in and talk to your baby again. Ask your baby if he or she wants anything else in this garden." And then, boom, they might just be shown, "Oh, he's showing me a blanket. Oh, he's showing me more rabbits. Oh, he wants a swing set." Sometimes they'll hear it in words.
Mhm.
Other times they will be shown the image. I used to it was a good exercise to get the conversation rolling, but uh, 11 years ago, it was actually about now maybe 12. A mother had a gorgeous garden. Oh my god, she was could, describe it spectacularly. It was really quite beautiful, and it was the first time I thought of asking the baby to chime in, and I expected the baby to say, "Oh, it's beautiful," but I said, "Why don't you ask your baby if there's anything else it needs?" And the baby said, "Pebbles." We we both looked at each other. "Was pebbles?" I said, "Okay, then put in pebbles." Okay,
It's in
so
the garden.
yeah, she put in
Yeah.
lots of pebbles. 11 years later, she reached out to me on Instagram to comment on something I had said, and I remembered her garden and what the
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 baby
our
said, yeah.
boy had said, and so I said to her, "By any d does your b boy do anything with pebbles?" She sent me 5 photographs. He is obsessed with pebbles and rocks.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, he has a little piano that he arranges them there. In the car, he arranges them everywhere, everywhere, and she says, "We can't go anywhere without taking a baggie so that he can collect
Oh, that
the
was
rock."
already in his consciousness that
Isn't
he had
that right? And so
yeah.
now I really pay attention to what the babies say.
Yeah, because like, they have that's the whole thing with, like, the the brain is so powerful and the spirits and, like, there's a lot of things that are not the connection is like, well, they're not you're not physically baby's not out of a mom yet,
Right,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Or they're not, in the mom yet, and the fact
yeah,
is
yeah,
that they
that's right.
they they're communicating because there's all kinds of levels of communication and levels that the brain can pick up and send out.
Yeah.
And when you go into a crowd, you can feel it. There's things that you can feel from people without even talking to
Oh, of course,
them.
of course,
And
of
so that
course.
the idea that you could get an image from from your baby, it
Yeah,
makes sense to me. That like you
yeah,
could send things
yeah,
because you visualization is very
exactly.
powerful. There's a
And
lot of examples of like psychics that see,
yeah, but the
know,
thing is,
like all kinds of things.
and absolutely, but it's actually a common skill um if you allow a person to do it. Now, eh, yes, some people are more intuitive and it's easier, but almost all pregnant women actually
Have a
are
capability.
somewhat intuitive. The other thing, what you just said, my daughters who are, in their 20s, um, they have the expression read the room. And
Yeah.
they were talking about a friend who said, or actually the mother of a friend, I know her well also, and she says, "She really doesn't know how to read a room, mommy." And I go, "Yeah, I know exactly what you mean." So you can sense right away what is cool, what isn't. Yeah, but
Yeah, it's
they
just like the whole like if you pick up the vibes, like if you don't have that kind of awareness, like awareness of what's around you. So it's like situational awareness. Like you could come into a situation, even like in business, you could have some plan to talk to your workers, right? And you're gonna need to read off the teleprompter, and then you reach. If you look at the room, nobody's getting it.
yeah,
Nobody feels it. Nobody
yeah,
wants it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like you can just keep on going with what you planned, or
yeah.
read the room. Like
Right,
some
I know.
people are so into their pre-planned thing that they get this pre-planned notion and they don't actually look and feel about what's actually around them.
Exactly,
They
or
get tunnel vision, so they don't have that kind of expansive expansiveness to actually pick up what is in the universe,
and
like
also
outside of
yeah,
themselves.
and then, yeah, they can't communicate, they can't connect, literally, right? The vibes connect. So anyway, the How to Talk to Babies really has a bit to do with this. They do talk in words, some of them, but many times in images or sometimes in feeling tones.
Mhm.
Um, for example, the mother may say, or I say, "Do you want to ask your baby if there's anything they want to say?" And they may just feel a lot of love. They don't even get shown like a hug or a kiss, or told, "I love you," but they feel
I feel
a
that.
pouring of love from them. Yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
the emotion, 'cause if you're an emotional being, you get this feeling like that love, that
yeah,
happiness, or
yeah,
the connection to the mother, right? So that it's expressing that connection that, that's what they're feeling. They're feeling that,
yeah,
like love.
a and, and many of them, especially nowadays, many come in to enhance the feeling of love in their parents, to really feel love. I mean, it's actually my book in that sense is very moving
Mm.
because, um, eh, the messages are kinda cool.
Well, I think it's a
But
very positive thing, and to open up your mind
yeah, exactly,
into the things that you are not as obvious, like to
exactly,
think about the spiritual and the
exactly,
things that are like existential, that are like beyond like our dimension, or things that we don't necessarily fully comprehend, but we don't
exactly.
disbelieve. Like
Yeah,
it's like any kind of like spiritual concept is like
yeah,
it's kind of like Gaia. Instead of talking about the earth, you talk about Gaia, and Gaia is a living
yeah, 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 and
entity, and so you're connected to Gaia no matter whether you think you are or not.
Absolutely, absolutely, that's the funny thing, and you're connected to the universe and the love of the universe, whatever you call it, there's great love for each one of us. There's incredible, right? And, I think that really doing this work, led me to see that and feel that, right? So it's even though the book is really probably incredibly useful to somebody wanting to get pregnant or being pregnant. I have many people that say, "Well, I'm not pregnant. I'm not planning to be," but this book, I was going to say opened up my mind, but it opens up your heart.
Yeah, it opens
Yeah.
up your soul, like
Yes.
it's sometimes it's good, like whether or not you wanted to be pregnant or you never want to have a kid, if you can open your mind and your heart and your spirit to
Mhm.
this idea that you could have this kind of communication, that
Yeah.
you can have this kind of connection, this visualization.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's like with a lot of people, they're looking for things. A lot of times I talk to people that they're looking for mentors, they're looking for coaches, they're looking for shamans, they're
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for something
Yeah.
because they feel like they're lacking because they've been disconnected. A lot
Absolutely.
of human beings have
Absolutely.
disconnected from Gaia, or they disconnected
Yes.
from the universe,
Yeah.
and they're not,
Absolutely. And
and they
and from the
they don't understand why, and they want to find out how to connect back.
Exactly, and this actually imagery does that. That's not what I advertise, but it's what happens. So I really also teach whoever works with me to that all the answers are within you. All the answers are within you because the universe and God is also inside, right? It's
Mhm.
so, um, and each one of us eh, um, has different things that are good for us that aren't necessarily good for another. So there's actually a wonderful exercise where you talk to your soul and you ask your soul a question. You know, is it good that I do this? Is it, and so
Yeah.
it's the imagery, this kind also helps you to connect with your inside knowing.
And so kinda like the Victorians had the idea of the looking glass self. Like, so they used to, like, all the Victorian poets had this kinda talk. It's like if you look in the mirror, you see that other you, right?
Oh, how
And this
cool.
other
Okay.
you actually
Eh,
is that internal self that you
yeah,
might not know how to talk to, but if you start to dive into creativity, you start to ask hard questions, right?
absolutely.
About yourself, about the things you're
Mhm.
scared of, about why
Yeah.
you're scared, like why things that you want, things that you don't say. And when if you start to dive into it
Mhm.
and you get this kind of creative capability of,
Yeah.
like, a lot of people talk about the muse. Like, you get connected to that muse, which is internal and external.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
When
yes,
you
yes.
kind of look into that looking glass self, then you have the ability to be channeled the muse. Like, a lot of musicians
Yeah.
or artists will say, I don't know, it's like this thing comes to me and I can kind of channel it.
Yeah, I
And sometimes I'll
understand.
get
I
the
understand.
whole
Yeah.
song will come to me and it's
Yeah.
done.
That
It's
is very
already there.
cool.
And
Yeah.
it's like, well, it must have already existed and I just pulled it.
Yeah, it's a
And I know
cool.
how to, yeah, and it's kind of like this. We can pull in sounds, but,
Yeah.
filmmakers can pull in images, painters pull in, you know, their painting before they even drew it.
Yeah.
It was kind of shown to them,
That's very
so
yeah.
it's the same idea.
I do artwork. That thing is mine
Oh
with
yeah.
fabric, but
Oh
the
cool.
idea, I almost dream it in the morning, and I kind of know the colors and a slight sketch, and then I go look for fabric, but I think Mozart said things were downloaded onto him.
Yeah, it just comes to, yeah. There are a lot of
Yeah,
artists will say that,
yeah,
from like Miles, to Hendrix, to Coltrane. Is like tons of artists have said is like sometimes these things just came to me. It
yeah.
just I just got it. It's like somebody like Hendrix had said one time. He's like, the universe sent me something I couldn't help but put it down.
Yeah, it's
It came
cool.
to
I
me, and
understand. Right, 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 right.
he just put it down,
Yeah.
and they said, "What are you doing?" 'Cause one time he was in a studio session with the Isley Brothers, and he suddenly put down this thing, and it had nothing to do with what they were working on. They said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "The universe gave me this. I had to put it down."
I love
And
that. I love
they're
that.
like, "What? What are you
I
talking about?"
I love that. I love that. That's exactly right. Sometimes when I'm teaching, I can all of a sudden tell that I'm being guided. All of a sudden, eh, I'm very inspirational. I didn't know I was going to say that, but it's almost like I'm listening to myself. I go, "That's pretty cool." Okay.
Yeah,
That's neat. But it's being, downloaded onto me, sort of.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think, like, we're all connected to this, like, everybody understands, like, the internet, where your brains, like,
Yes,
there's
yes.
already this internet, it's between the animals, the
Yes,
plants, and
yes, yes,
everything,
yes.
right? And so you can feel, like, the weather. You can go outside in nature and you can feel, power, right? You
E
can feel, sometimes you can feel the dread, or you can feel it like, "Oh, this is scary," or "This is really beautiful," and it's, like, depends on, like, where you are, the moment you're in, the
Mhm.
place you're in. Sometimes
Oh,
it's radiating this, it's radiating that, and if you're in tune, you kinda pick it up, and you're like, "Oh, what's
but
going on here?"
but also, I think we can actually, be privy to picking up the future. Not completely. Okay, how can I say it? The way I view things, there are many possibilities for each one of us, right? I almost feel like you can think of like a sun with many rays, but there are
Mhm.
certain possibilities that uh, either because of the way you were brought up or the way that are more probable, right? And so I really think many of us can pick up the probable realities. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it can't change. So I use my body. Somebody taught me how to get yes, no from my body. And if what I'm asking isn't super personal, where I'm invested in the answer, I'm spookily accurate. Like
Mm.
I guessed every one of the states that was going to go for Biden. And one of them and I wouldn't tell people, but I was like, at one of them, I didn't believe, I think it was Georgia. I was sure that couldn't be,
Couldn't
and
be.
but it was, and I kept saying I asked my I go, "Don't lie to me, tell me the truth." Is and it would say, "Yes." So
Yeah.
many times I will s ask if something is gonna happen. I don't tell anybody, but I kind of wait because it helps me trust my own, uh, perception of things.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's good to know, like, where you are with your perception, because a lot of
yeah,
times, you have to know if you're connected. Like I said, with a lot of artists that I work with, we're all kinda into this idea of the muse.
yeah, yeah,
We're all
that's
into this
very
idea
cool. Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
the flow state, and then those things usually end up being better than the things that we try to be very intentional about.
Yes, I completely agree. I completely agree, and yeah, it because you're allowing the beauty and creativity of the universe, which is also yours, to
I
fly.
still feel
It's almost
it's still part of you. I mean, like, the 10,000
absolutely,
hours that you put into being a musician,
absolutely,
all your influences, they're in your subconscious, they're in your dreams. So when
absolutely.
something comes to you, it's a synthesis of
Yes,
all those hours that you put into your skill set,
and
right?
also you
And
couldn't
then it's
yeah,
also the interpretation of the what's external,
yeah.
and
No,
we're able to use
it's
it.
absolutely kudos to you and kudos to the universe and
Yeah,
to the muse, yeah.
it's all
So
that. It's cool when you can actually trust it and you don't, like, throw it away. Sometimes things come to people and they're like, "I'm not gonna take that," and I was like,
ab
I'm kinda like,
absolutely.
you
A
gotta take it."
absolutely. That's how you learn to trust. You gotta take that bridge, it's like yeah. So did you have specific questions you had for me? Now I realize we're
Oh,
we're
yeah, no,
just
I mean,
talking.
we did know that's kind of what I do with this thing is kind of a stream of consciousness. I had a couple of questions about, like, why you wanted to be,
Oh,
like, a
right,
writer.
right,
We
right.
already talked about, like, why you wanted to do what you're doing, but, like, why you wanted to be a writer, I think sounds like you wanted to tell this story about to be able to communicate, with
Absolutely.
babies in the womb, but you can talk about it more,
No, it was simply as I would work with, uh, many, many women, and you sometimes it was why a baby miscarried, and you talk to that soul that left, and the answers were sort of mind-blowing. Do you know what I mean? I felt like
Mhm.
I can't be the only person
Has
that
this.
is
You wanna tell the
receiving
story.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Really, it was that it's I was very driven to tell the story, to tell the messages. And of course, not all. I mean, I've worked with so many and,
Yeah,
you
you had
know,
to pick what was gonna kind of
yeah,
what was gonna really resonate, and, it's like everything, like, you have, like, you once you write a book, it's like you have so much, and you have to kinda decide what's gonna fit in the book, right? So you
and
can't put everything that you ever happened to you,
no, no,
but you have to kind of discern, like, what's gonna actually have an impact,
absolutely. And
you know?
also, I had to ask permission, so it also had to be with women that were
Oh,
even though
yeah.
we're changing the name, uh, that
You
I
wanted
could
to
tell
get
the
their approval.
story. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
so it
interesting. So it's a lot of the stories of what you've gone through with people in your life doing this practice,
yeah.
and then, getting people to agree that you could tell that story if you change your
Right,
name.
yeah,
But yeah,
and sometimes I would have to write the story first and say, "This is what I'd like to put in,"
mhm.
I've changed the name. Tell me what name you want me to use. People like different names. It's really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
They
Well,
will
it's
they
good
will
when you
make up
include
different
people.
things, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, then they know they feel better about it than if they
yeah,
found out you didn't do it.
yeah, no, I couldn't. And then I say, and anything you want me to change or not put in, tell me, right? So it is like a reporter. They're true stories.
I
Yeah.
think that's a really interesting, concept, to get into this idea because the people were like, "Well, that's paranormal," or "That's, like, foo-foo," or "That's spiritual," but, like, in this world, there's a lot of things that are not fully explainable, but they're actually kinda necessary to your soul.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as people get, when they start having doubts about like why is life so this and why am I not happy, then they get drawn to the spiritual. They get
Yeah.
drawn for something beyond the money, beyond
Absolutely.
power, beyond this. They want to actually balance and feel
Yeah.
connected, right? And so these are the type of stories you want to give to the world to
Yeah.
give people like that alternative way of thinking or understanding,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And how much uh, help each to prepare a woman for labor. There's an exercise where she sees her whole ancestry from Adam and Eve to the present.
Wow.
I mean, you visualize, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you ask the exercise asks that all those that are going to help her during the birth or during mothering to show themselves. So either they light up or they go out of the line. And then you have all of them come behind her. She's in the garden so she can feel their support. And the exercise has the woman lean back into their arms. And you can also invite angelic support, guides. But if the woman can't lean back, I know I have to work at getting her to be more trusting because the birth process involves letting go
Mhm.
and trusting the universe, right? But it also, people see some ancestors they never met but are right there for them and tell them I'm always here. It's pretty heartening to know you have people looking out for you on the other side.
Yeah, but I think a lot of indigenous people have the belief
Yes.
that their ancestors,
Mhm.
Navajo and Cherokee and
Mhm. Mhm.
going back to Inca, I mean, they all have these concepts that the ancestors are there and they're
Yeah.
influencing, and you can call them and you can
Yeah.
talk to them and you can have like these dream states where you can be with them, and it's not
Yes.
it's not an unknown like concept in humanity, but some people might have like kind of not denigrated it or thought that it's not real or think it's like fantasy or it's not valid. But I think it's real important to try to understand some of these esoteric things that
Yeah.
are because it's like what harm is it going to do to try to understand things in a
You
different way.
you just said something very important, a dream state. This imagery puts you in a little bit of a dream state so you can communicate with the part that isn't quite 3D, right? So that is really, I think, how it works so well.
They are there people that have some others that have a hard time trying to get to that dream state or having a hard time communicate because they got like walls or barriers that they can't get beyond.
Yeah, there are, of course. And look, if after a first meeting they think the imagery is stupid, they're not going to work with me, number one, right? So that
Mhm.
already, but um, this is interesting. It, my teacher, Catherine, the one that wrote DreamBirth, it also teaches morphology, which is the science of the forms of your body. Now,
Mhm.
so somebody that has a lot of straight lines, it's very linear. will have a harder time with the imagery than somebody who has a lot of roundnesses, right?
Mm,
So, I mean, at its most basic. And of course, pregnant women are rounder than they are
yeah,
normal, so they
so
tend
they should be more
yeah,
open to it.
yeah. But there are, yeah, there's different levels. Some almost all mothers, once I once you relax them enough, you're in the gar you have to help them relax.
Yeah, get to that state. You have to
Re
get to that kinda like a point, like, if you're a Buddhist and you start to, like, get into your breathing exercises and your
yeah,
chanting, you're
yeah,
able to control your heartbeat, your blood
right,
pressure, your
yeah,
breathing. You're more open
a
to be
a
able to communicate, be able to focus,
absolutely,
be
and
able to,
so
do that.
there's imagery exercises that help you relax, so if I can see that there's two things, or I mean, many, but uh 2 things that I see often. People that are afraid to be wrong.
Mm,
They don't wanna say what they saw, "What if I do it wrong?" Do you know what I mean? So that stops them. And then there is, of course, people who might have had very strong, teachings.
mhm.
That's the devil, or that's
Or they
stupid.
have that
Yeah, or
shame in there. Yeah, they think they're
yeah,
going toward the devil, so they can't do it, so they
right.
stop themselves.
Or, uh you're scientific. How could you do
Yeah,
ideas, but
science mind, same it's the
yeah,
same thing, it's same kind of rigidity. Like, if you get rigidity in thought, where you're
uh,
not open,
but
you
there's
know?
exercises that can trick a person into relaxing. Or I know which ones might do it. So you can become a dolphin and be very playful. Uh, One of the exercises to deal with pain is you become the water, right? So
Oh,
you lead a
yeah,
person to become, and so um
or fluid, or
fluid
fluid and less rigidity, not
and
a stone, you're not a rock, you're not the
yeah,
mountain.
right, right. So but there are some people that take to it like a duck takes to water. Do you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah, they're
start
more into
something and they're already into this
you're
very
into it.
big dream state. But luckily, well, not luckily, uh, when you are pregnant or you want to get pregnant, it's necessary that you become softer and more
Mm,
trusting. Won't happen, in fact, like you're saying, you'll compose much more beautiful things if you relax a little bit and let the
can't
muse
be
guide
uptight.
you. Yeah, 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 right, yeah. So it a lot, and sometimes it's a matter of being good with people. We talk, we chat, we laugh. I want to know about their family. Do you know what I mean? So that they
You gotta
become,
break the ice, like, give
yeah,
somebody like, you have to get past that initial
yeah,
stage of, not trusting. Like, if
right.
people start to trust, and then they start to relax, and they
Yes,
start to have less fear, like,
exactly.
some people have a
Yeah,
lot of fear, like, fear of the unknown,
absolutely,
fear of
absolutely.
going against their teaching, fear of this,
Yeah,
fear of that,
and we
and if they
have, yeah,
get past that.
and we have visualizations to take out fears, to go to the office of your mind and find every instance of, you know, a message you may have been given: "You're bad, you're stupid, the world is only works this way." And you basically burn and bury all those thoughts, and then
Mhm.
you put, on the mound where you've buried everything. You can do it many ways, but one of the ways is you can chisel into the stone, so you have the tools, um, the word or emotion or idea that they now want to live by. So it can be,
Oh,
yeah,
and put it
yeah.
yeah, imprint it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Imprint it,
So
yeah,
and yeah.
that's good.
So with this work, I mean, it comes from a bigger work, sapphire imagery, that really does get you to communicate with your inside and with the outside
Mm.
divinity, but and for your own creativity, but I'm working down to earth people that, eh, wanna get pregnant, are pregnant. You have to work with their relationships. You end up having to do a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, a
So
lot of
there's
interpersonal stuff to get to the
yeah,
right
and there's many exercises in the tradition that are really cool,
mm,
that are
sounds
for
cool.
that. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a lot of times there's a lot of people they get, they got all these hangups that are stopping them. I run into people that stop themselves all the time. You
Yeah,
get
absolutely.
they just it's like you have imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
in the microcosm of your life. It's like you're stopping yourself on all
Yeah.
these things,
Yeah.
and you got to get a way to like break the glass ceiling on your own life.
A and and even you refuse to listen to the messages you're getting. I had a woman, it's very interesting, very, she called herself super type A. She, she would do something 10 times, she was going to get pregnant, blah, 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 but after and she did have one baby girl using the imagery with me, and then she wanted another sibling. Years, she was very, very rigid. And one day, after several years, I didn't see her all the time, but she would come back to me. She says, I think I'm going to try it your way, Claudia. I'm going to ask, this is how she did it. She said, basically, she said, God, if you're there, you have to give me a sign. And so she said, okay, I want a lot of rainbows. If you're really there, divine, if you're really there, I want a lot of rainbows. Okay, like clockwork. There were lots of rainbows. She had a little girl who was 3 or 4. She was bumping into books with rainbows, and so
Almost
then she
everywhere.
says, but then she says, "No, that's too easy. I can't
That's crazy.
believe that." So
Oh
then
no,
she said, and I know, then she said, "Butterflies. I want butterflies." She figured that, but
that'll be harder.
but she was in the park and a butterfly came onto her nose. And her little girl says, Mommy, Mommy, you have a butterfly on your nose. So I felt like, the poor universe, her poor muses
Trying to
are
tell
like,
her,
we're
you better
here, we're
they're
here.
trying to tell you better listen.
Yeah,
Like you're not
yeah,
listening.
yeah,
You gotta open your ears. Sometimes people don't have they don't realize they're closing it off.
yeah.
They're closing off their eyes too, and they're like
Oh, or your
dirt,
heart.
whatever.
Sometimes
Their heart,
you're,
yeah, you're
yeah,
closing it off, and then you
yeah.
wonder why you're not
But
feeling acceptance or connection, because you're not open.
or you get the answer and you go, "No, that's stupid. No, 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 that can't
Yeah,
be." You know what I mean? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
If you're not like a lot of things, you get these signals, but if
yeah,
you don't take it,
yeah,
like if you don't go with it, then
yeah,
you miss it. You miss the opportunity. You miss the
yeah.
chance that the universe gives you because it's like have you had lessons learned like with people through your practice, like some key lessons that you can maybe relate to the audience? There's some key things that you learned by doing this practice that will be valuable to people
Yeah,
to
I
know.
guess so. Okay, first of all, to put it a little bit woo-woo, all of us have, uh, helpers from the other side, ancestors, angels, guides, whatever you wanna call them, every one of us. And if you take a chance in believing them and asking for help or something, you'll see. Okay. The other thing is consciousness exists, I suppose, outside of our body because you can talk to babies before you conceive them. And uh, this story may tell it better than anything. Um, I did a training with a group of women recently. One of them is a nurse. They're learning DreamBirth imagery. And um, there's 3 modules for pregnancy, 2 for conception, 1 for mothering, there's a lot to learn. And during one of the conception modules, this nurse got pregnant. She called me up, she says, "Claudia, Claudia, I'm pregnant." I go, "Oh, wow, good." So we had a session, and mind you, she has learned all the exercises already, but I decided to do 2 exercises really for one to calm her. You breathe with the tree, another one where you put, um, lights of every color come around you to program happiness and optimism. So we did those 2 exercises. And then, like as my usual want, I said, "Ask the baby which one did she like the most." Okay. The baby says, "I like the one where we become water together." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I didn't do that exercise."
You do
And
that
then I
one.
and then I go, "Is she talking about rehearsing the birth in water?"
Oh,
And
wow.
the woman says, "Yes." We had done that exercise about a year before.
Oh, so it was that one.
Yeah. So, the souls, I don't like those 2. I like that one the best.
Yeah, you're
When
right.
we
You
asked her
can go
what was
back and
yeah,
take that one.
yeah. But
Yeah, it doesn't have to
but
be in the moment, it's, like, from a different moment.
right, which means that baby was hanging around,
Yeah, it was
attending
hanging around.
class. Yeah. So, I if there's anything what there is a way to be more connected to those that love you and protect you, to children that you may want or have, and to communicate soul to soul with anybody. It works really well to talk to a person soul to soul through imagery before you actually talk to them. And then when you talk to them, it will be very easy. So I don't know what else, how to quicken this. If you came late, everybody.
No, but I think
Yeah,
that
okay.
that's a really good, core lesson because we've been talking about, being able to talk to a baby before it's even here,
Mhm.
and the idea that souls could exist, and they're waiting to find the parent they're gonna go with, and
Yeah.
they sometimes it's kind of fated, they're waiting for that person because that's, like, their path, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
and people might find that strange, but I think if you start to open your mind, it's not as strange as it might sound right now. And so
Not only that, many of you will have had the experience of thinking something quite strongly, and then the other person, it's as if they heard you.
yeah,
'Cause they did,
it
right? And we all have that. Or you have a feeling in your tummy, "Uh-oh, something's gonna happen, uh-oh." We know things
yeah.
in a different
Yeah, like
way, right? Yeah,
precognition, there's, like, precognition,
yeah,
there's people more in tune with it, and
yeah,
maybe see them working with police departments, find people who are able to see
yeah,
things, be able
yeah,
to feel
yeah,
things,
yeah.
be able to find things, and so we know that it exists, and you can try to act like it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't exist for you right now
But
because
it
you're
it
blocking it,
but
but if you're
yeah,
more open to it, then maybe it could.
and this imagery opens that up. It softens you and opens you up. So almost every single person that works with this type of imagery gets more intuitive. Everyone, that I would say everyone.
So it's just even beyond the idea of with the focus was on babies and communicating in the womb, but what we've been talking about this visualization and these images like school of images like you're part of
Yeah.
is this it can apply to a lot of parts of your life and a lot of connections with
Oh,
other human
please,
beings.
please. Catherine teaches, workshops on prosperity, on, uh, oh my god, on everything, and she's very big now on one of her classes is really imagery that can help the world, that can help Gaia.
Hmm.
So we yeah, so she's she keeps developing. I stayed with the babies, but but,
Yeah, but it's like
yeah,
they stay with what like speaks to you. Like I think
yeah,
everybody knows finds something in life that speaks to them, and then they get like in tune
yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
I think it's super, super, informative what we've been talking about. It's really interesting. And, this is why I talk to different creative people around the world.
Mhm.
And I think we
Mhm.
had a really great discussion. We're near the
Yeah.
end, but we
Yeah,
do have
yeah.
your YouTube link though. So if people click on the YouTube link, what happens then when they click that? Is that your channel? Is that like an example of your work?
Where? What do you oh,
There's
is
a
that
link I have.
mine?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
I think it will have different exercises or people saying things about me. I don't even know, Frank.
okay.
I have somebody that helps me with that because I
Okay.
am I am ancient and I need someone young that does that. So,
To
but
set you up.
every
Oh, yeah, we do encourage people to check that out, and your book,
yeah.
Messages from the Womb. Now is that on Amazon and everywhere people can
It's
get
on
that?
Amazon everywhere. Barnes& and Noble, your local bookstore can order it. Um, or you can go into my website, which is Claudia Raiken without the Rosenhouse.
ClaudiaRaken.com?
.com, and that
Okay,
will
cool.
have everything, how to get a private session, how to ask me a session, how to ask me a question, classes that you may wanna join, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, well, I just created that one. So that's right there. So that's the website.
Yes, yes, that's the website, yes.
So I put that out there, and if people will be able to click that, in the show description, I'll include that. And so, like, all the links I include in the description are clickable
Yeah,
once we're off the air. And we were just on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Like, so that will be claudiaraiken.com will be clickable. And you'll be able to go right there, check out the book. You'll go to Amazon or go to Barnes& and Noble or go to anywhere you want to go check it out. We do encourage everybody to click the links of the guests that we talked to. And I want to thank you for being a guest on the Family
oh,
Life to Go
thank you
podcast.
so much, that was great because I didn't realize musicians are on the same wavelength.
But we try to be. We try to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Thank
Sort of
you.
the same thing.
Well, thank
Okay,
you. Thank you very
you're
much for
welcome.
being on the show.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Have a good night.